Here we go. What's up, everybody? We are live. Welcome to the Team Swartz On Demand video podcast. I may be having a guest if we can get past these technical difficulties momentarily. But with that being said, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I post videos on a weekly basis on helping you join the Army or to prepare yourselves for Army basic training, to include going live like I am now on a weekly basis, helping you navigate making a well-informed decision throughout your enlistment process into active duty Army, Army Reserve, or the Army National Guard, and to prepare yourselves both mentally and physically for Army basic training. With that being said, this is a disclaimer. This is my personal account, and by no means is endorsed or sponsored by the Department of Defense, DOD for short, U.S. Army, Army National Guard, New York Army National Guard, or any other government entity. The views, opinions, anything stated out of my mouth on this channel are my personal views and opinions based on my experience, insights, so on and so forth, and they are of my own and no one else's. So with that being said, welcome to the channel. If you're new here, let me know which state you are tuning in from. We got a lot of comments in here. And if you're one of my repeat viewers, you know the deal. Drop that hashtag Team Swartz. So let's see. We are going to look at Luis Rodriguez. Thank you so much for the super sticker. I appreciate you supporting the channel. And thank you very much for everything. Now, can you hear me? Lima Charlie? All right, perfect. All right, hang on. All right, so I lost that screen. My docking station fell down, but glad everything is still working on this end. So, whew, all right, technical difficulties, but he is finally in. And with that being said, again, Luis Rodriguez, thank you so much for supporting the channel. I got a special guest coming in here tonight. I will momentarily introduce you to him. And his name is Mr. Kodo. What's up, man? Welcome to the stream.
What's going on, man?
Thank you for tuning in, man.
Back in the room.
What's going on with the link, but I am glad you are here. So those of you who don't know who he is Mr. Kodo now. He is retired from the active duty Army.
That's the first time I'm hearing that.
Say again?
I was like, that's the first time I get to hear that.
So yeah. So he is, I don't want the speakers on that. I want the speakers on my phone or on my AirPods. Anyway, I'll figure that out while we go. I think I got it now. But go ahead and introduce yourself, everybody, before we get into the comments real quick, because they fill up real fast.
Yeah, no problem, man. So my name is Ryan Kodo. Prior Army Sergeant, retired recently. Literally August of this year was my official date. My last day in the Army was July 31st. So 23 years in. My job is super unique. So it's not one that even like Sergeant Swartz like gets to see often. I am a prior, what was called the 25 Romeo, which is an audiovisual information operator maintainer. I know, long title, right? Like crazy. So basically what we do is in the Army, there are actual people that do television work. I am one of those guys. I would be the broadcast engineer for that person, or team or whatever. As far as like accolades and stuff I've done, I've gotten to do a lot while I was in. I've done everything from small man team stuff to combat camera stuff to psychological operations to my highest echelon, which is working for presidents. And the majority of my time, I actually maintained a TS level clearance. So I was able to use that to do a bunch of different stuff. So when you guys get to see stuff with Sergeant Swartz, I know you guys don't get to see like people like me, the guy on the other side, outside, finally in, did the whole shebang, the whole career thing. And on the end of my trail, I was doing just like Sergeant Swartz is doing. I was in recruiting for 3 years. So I was an active duty recruiter, active duty the whole time. So left when I was 17, straight up. And now I'm 41. So you guys can ask anything you want. And that was like the whole thing with the collab, wanting to like let you guys see that. And I know that's not something that's privy all the time.
And one of the reasons why, a few reasons why I brought him on here is he has active duty recruiting experience, relatively recently left. Obviously, he might not be up to date on some of the most current events, but he still has a lot of active duty experience to share, to include recruiting and stuff like that. So I figured he would add a lot of value. I appreciated his honest feedback. He seems like a very honest person, hard worker, and obviously has a lot of success throughout his military career. Very, like you said, very, very unique. So I will be dropping our video podcast where we were just having some dialogue back and forth about the Army and so on and so forth. So definitely look forward to that. Haven't gotten done editing it or whatever. Very minimal, but I just haven't gotten around to it. And thank you so much. We're going to go, before we move forward, I don't know if you guys seen this, but I made the Reserve National Guard magazine. And if you are a Team Swartz channel member, you will be part of a raffle at the end of the month where you'll earn the coin and limited edition Team Swartz coin, unit patch, and a signed Reserve National Guard magazine. So that would be raffled off at the end of the month. At minimum one person, maybe 3. But yeah, so look forward to that. So kicking off, the first comment of the evening is Shania Lang. Welcome to the stream. She says, hashtag Team Swartz, appreciate you. How does retirement work in the National Guard? So I don't know what the process is like yet because I haven't gone through it. Give me about 21 months and counting if everything goes well. But there are 2 different types of retirements, right? There's reserve retirement and active duty retirement. Obviously, you make more from the active duty retirement and you receive it immediately after you get out, once it's processed, of course. But in the Guard and Reserve, you actually don't receive your pension, which is about 50% less than that, when you hit about 60 years old. And that's the only upside downside to either one of those. So if you play your cards right in the Guard Reserve, you're earning towards a second retirement simultaneously, thus possibly being a little bit more lucrative than going all in on active duty like myself and Mr. Kodo here. But good question. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, I mean, it's probably similar. Like, there's always paperwork. You got to make your choice. I think it's probably going to be, because you're probably going to get active duty equivalent. So, when you plan your time ahead, you have to file for it. You got to ask the Army, like, hey, I'm about to do this. This is the date I would like. Usually that starts with a 4187. It's basically what I had to do. And in the 4187, you have to state what date you want. That's it. That's everything is going to play off that date. So it's a lot of planning. Personally, now I'm on the other side, right? So I think that window needs to be longer, only because we're still feeling the after effects of COVID. So like, there's a lot of steps to retirement. You got to like get your money right. You have to prep things. You got to transfer paperwork. So anything that you may or may not need on your case by case basis, you need that time. And that's once that deadline is created, there's no more time. So it's you against the wall.
Okay. So we got the first new member to Team Swartz members only channel. So that's great. Thank you very much, Liverpool. Appreciate your contribution to the channel. We got Grace Beard, a recruiter I talked to, said that if I start the enlistment process for the Army when I'm in my senior year, which would be next year, I would have the ability to get any job that I want to do. I'm assuming that you mean active duty, because you could technically join as a Guard Reserve if you're a junior, 17 or older, with parental consent and all that good stuff. But
yeah, that's on both sides.
Yeah. So, but I mean, when it comes to jobs, or MOS as we call it in the Army, military occupation specialty, That's primarily going to be dependent on your line scores from the ASVAB test, the eligibility to qualify for clearances, U.S. citizenship, driver's license, and other factors. So your recruiter will definitely share with you what is available at that time once you're ready to commit and move forward. All right, so we got rack bands. Can I join with a protective order or a previous DWI, or am I currently pissing hot from marijuana? Man, you're a whole lot of hot mess here. Oh, man. So if you currently have a protective order against you, probably not going to be able to make it. DWI could be possibly waived. And, yeah, unfortunately, you're going to have to wait until you're clean. Can't come in while you're a little hot under the collar, you know what I'm saying? Grace Beard also says, depending on the ASVAB score, if so, or if not, how can I work my way becoming an MWD handler? I think that's
handler. Man. Yeah, he's
that's
talking
like
about K9.
MOS.
Yeah, I think like we talked about this in the podcast thing. Like we were just talking about like some MOSs, which you guys don't really, not it's your fault. I think it's a recruiter's fault. They don't tell you straight up certain MOSs you cannot straight join into. And that's one of them. You cannot be a straight up K9. You have to be a police officer first. So you have to qualify for a police officer and then request to become a K9. I've worked with K9s during my career too. So it's a little crazy that to me, I thought that might have been a thing. So it is a misconception. Like, hey, why can't you be straight up? But no, they don't do that. You have to do that first. Police officer. Then once you're in, however way you get in, request to go K9. Because that's a separate thing. Just like with Sergeant Schwartz and myself, we're both being recruiter qualified. Like you would come in, be an Army soldier. No one comes in to be a recruiter. Yeah, it's soldier first, then however way you get to recruiting, and then you'll go to school for that, and then it's an extra qualification.
Yep, 100%. See, also want to say your channel is the best one out there. Love your videos, very informative. I recommend them to my friends considering the military, even the ones that aren't. Hashtag Team Swartz. Appreciate the support. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciated. Rock Bands also says, to me, it doesn't matter what branch I join. I just would love to serve. Please help. Once you get yourself straight with the drugs and the order of protection, then we could look into your situation and see what your eligibility standards are. Liverpool says, hashtag Team Swartz. Woohoo. Hell yeah. Matt, too much. What is exercise like in AIT? Long runs, also time to study, 68 Victor or 68 Kilo. Hashtag Team Swartz. Listen, either MOS is a good MOS as long as it makes you happy. And actually, I'm not going to need this because it got disconnected, I think. I don't know. I'll leave it there just in case. Yeah, I don't think it's working, but I'm using my AirPods. But anyway, exercise in AIT is the same as basic training, PRT, and all throughout your Army career, unless you're doing individual PT on your own time. It's physical readiness training. You could Google it or YouTube search it. You'll find a whole bunch of exercises. Definitely check out the preparation drill, condition drill 1 and 2, recovery drill, and so on and so forth. Long runs depends on where you go. It could be like 3 to 5 miles.
Yeah, he's talking about the medical field too, so that's like all Fort Sam Houston. So yeah, definitely. Like I would always prep soldiers or future anybody, whatever way you want to call it, that about running. Like that's cardio is a huge thing when you're coming in, only because that's like the biggest differential you have against joining. So like not everyone lives in a place where you can go run 2 miles. Most people don't even have a track near their house. So it's hard to think along that route. I personally had a dude lose like 40 pounds and all I had him do was like walk a mile stretch to a road because he didn't have that here. And I'm from South Jersey. So a lot of recruiters need to help people trying to join in thinking that way, because we're taught kind of those skills with critical thinking and mission planning and fitness, where like, just because you don't have a track don't mean you can't work out. Just because you don't have weights don't mean you can't do body weight exercises. So like, you guys just think a certain way. We just got to help you get to another step. And that's part of the process, is to get you there.
100%. There's nothing wrong with the Navy here. We all love each other, right? There's some friendly competition, but there's nothing wrong with any branch of the service as long as it meets your needs, wants, and desires. And as long as it helps you get to where you want to go in life, that's it.
But better waivers. That's about it.
Yeah, and more lenient with tattoos and age and anyway. Nelson Medina with the hashtag Team Swartz. Appreciate you. Let's go. Hell yeah. Tijavan Sanford, probably jacked that up. Apologize. Also asks, what can I expect as a prior service member going to Fort Sill Army Basic Training? I actually did a whole video for you going through it. You can go check out that video. But listen, age is just a number. Obviously, being prior service, the drill sergeants for the most part are not going to mess with you. You are going to have to drink the Kool-Aid, go with the flow, but they're not really going to bother you too much. They might put you into like student leadership positions, obviously because you're the senior person. But in all sense of, common sense, you're a trainee. So don't think that just because you're prior service, you're better than everyone else. Just drink the Kool-Aid, all right? That's the biggest thing I want to stress upon you. So Patrick Mustan, hashtag Team Swartz, let's go. Feature Patrick. Thank you for keeping up all the relevant comment, coming in and answering all these questions for the lost souls. Blessing on your live stream. Appreciate you, sir. Thank you very much. John Nieves, trying to join today on this live, wondering which recruitment office I should go since I live in the same state because I'm really interested in joining. And, well, I don't know the age max that I could join. So the age cutoff without a waiver is your 35th birthday, on or before your 35th birthday. However, to add to that, if you're going active duty, then you need to ship out before that age. Unless there's something that I don't know about. Is that how it works for active duty, right?
Yeah, still, as far as I'm tracking, is people in the office, they can still do age waivers, but the age waiver is like highly not approved. It's just very unique to get someone approved. Like you would have had to been like a student athlete or a collegiate athlete, to where that, their biggest concern a lot of the time is your medical status and your fitness position. So, the other stuff, like if you were to have a ticket, they can do a moral waiver on top of that. But an age waiver is the biggest thing because they look at it as like a liability coming in. They don't know if you're just going to get hurt. They don't know if you're going to get an aggravated injury from when you were younger. Any of those things could come to play when you're an older person. So that's stuff people don't think about. I'm sure you've dealt with it just like I have, where people get mad because they feel like they're against this wall. But there are age waivers, but you have to be a very good candidate for that. And that's the hard part to deal with, is like, I'm 36, I waited this long. If you waited that long, it wasn't that important. Yep. Like that's exactly how they're going to look at it when they're just got your paper in front of you.
Yep. The age waivers, they have to be from, the term they like to use is meritorious reasons. Like, you had 35 years to join. Why wait until now? So up to 40 is easier to get than if you're 40 to 42.
Yeah, I think for our office, it was 38 was the last time they got one even approved. And it was a guy that was like a power lifter in college. That was literally,
they've become more easy to get because of, the dynamics of the military at the moment. It's always based on the needs.
Yep.
But it still has to be for a meritorious reason. Lillian, do you think basic training is easier in the summer or winter? And do you think they are relatively similar? I think training is training. It's just, what do you feel is more preferred? In my opinion, it's easier to get warmer in the winter than it is to try to get cooler in the summer. There's only so much you could do to get cooler. But if I had to choose, I would definitely choose a warmer month over a cooler month, just because I hate the cold. I'll suck it up in the heat. But, there are pros and cons to either one. So it gets really hot in the summer.
Oh, yeah. Like, I mean, I would look at it like it depends what you need. It's based on, if you're trying to lose weight, then I would plan for the summer, because I went to Fort Jackson and it was 100+ degrees every day. You're waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and it's already like 85. So it's hot and it's going to be muggy. But when it was winter, it's cold. So it's not easier for you to lose weight in the winter, because you're just going to like get sapped as soon as you go outside. It's just trying to stay warm. So that's really like the only difference between the two. And sometimes if that's the only thing you got for a choice, recruiters, like active duty recruiters like I was, we can't necessarily pick which one you're going to go to. We can't push you 8 months so that you can finally get in spring. That ain't going to happen. Like we can only do
3 to 4 months. You got to ship out the training.
Yeah, that's what the leadership is going to want you to do, is like relatively close, because they can only see so far in the system for jobs.
Yeah, for the National Guard, NGB has it so that it's within 90 to 120 days. So, but yeah, so that's pretty much it. Young Savage, what's up, man? Here we go. Hell yeah. Thank you for tuning in, man. Appreciate you. Matt Too Much also says, if you're held back in basic training due to illness or injury, can the Army reassign any MOS that they want you to, or whatever? So basic training is just basic training. If you are reclassed or not reclassed, but if you're recycled due to injury, illness, or what have you, you just get recycled and your AIT date will just get pushed to a later time. Now, unless you sustain an injury that's going to prevent you from fulfilling the responsibilities and roles of the MOS that you're supposed to assume, then yes, at that point, based on the needs of the Army, worst case scenario, they could reclass you to another MOS that you're otherwise eligible for. But good question. John Nieves says, a question I would ask is, in all your career, in your own words, how was your journey? So you may agree with me, right? I love serving. I joined because I'm patriotic. I like helping people. I wanted the ability to, do stuff for my country overseas while, helping out my local people, which to me at the time, being a volunteer fireman, helping out my people directly was something that was of more interest to me. And it was supposed to be a stepping stone to eventually go active duty, which it did as a recruiter, but like regular Army active duty. But with that being said, as far as my journey is concerned within the Army, you're going to have some highs and you're going to have some lows. Sometimes it's going to be like, oh my God, this is the next best thing since sliced bread. And some days it's like, oh, I freaking hate this. Or maybe I'm just not as excited as being in the Army. But nonetheless, across the board, for the most part, it has been a phenomenal experience for myself. And I would not trade it for anything in the world. It's been the best decision I've ever made.
Yeah, I would probably say the same thing. It's along the same lines. Like for me, being a little longer, if I would have never joined, I would have never gotten to travel. So like that was like one of the most immediate things I had. I'm from a very poor area, in Jersey at the time, because we're talking 23 years ago. Even though everything's relative, right? Mm-hmm. So on top of that, like that was the choice. I could have gone to college. I could have been something else. I could have started working, whatever. But that was kind of what the Army did for me, was get me out of my area, get me out of a bad spot, bad area, community, however way you want to say it. Gave me some kind of stability, financially stable. And then I was able within 2 years living in a foreign country. So that's the cool part to it, is you don't know where it may or may not take you, but sometimes it is luck. And for me, looking at it aftermath, like to go all the way to so far as like work for 2 presidents, me being a Hispanic kid in Jersey, I would have never thought that at 17 years old that I would have even had that shot. I would have never high-fived a man hand to hand myself. Like never would have thought I would be in those kind of spaces with those kind of people and those kind of celebrities ever.
Yep. I grew up in a small town upstate New York. Well, it's technically downstate, but yeah, I definitely would not have been exposed to everything that I've been exposed to if it wasn't for me volunteering for the Homeland Security mission here at the New York Army National Guard here in New York City and being a recruiter. So it definitely took me out of my comfort zone. I was definitely in a shell, shy kid. The Army, especially in recruiting, forces you to get out of your comfort zone, because if you don't talk to people, you don't put them in. So, but yeah, it's done a lot for me. So. Connolly Cox says, I desire active duty infantry, basically with option 4 with guaranteed assignment to 173rd Airborne in Italy. Is this impossible to get? That's a good question for you.
Oh, that's like a mixed up one. Getting 11X, nah, it's not that hard. The guaranteed assignment, that might be kind of hard. The only reason why is because on the active duty side, right, a lot of people don't understand is recruiters don't pick jobs for you. We're not allowed to. We enter really what you want, but for active duty side, it just comes up as like a list. Like the way I will describe it to people would be like when you order a hotel room, this system in place will just tell you like what rooms are available and in what sizes and at when and how much. So there is no price associated with a contract necessarily. You're just picking, yo, I want to be an 11 X-ray. I'm trying to leave in December timeframe. Cool, because your test fits qual. So if that's all you needed, cool, because that's all the system's going to tell us at first. And then once we say 11 X-ray, there's another subsection that opens up and says, hey, this man is able, or this woman is able to get all these bonuses, all these options on top of that. That's extra. So I would take it with a grain of salt. Like, hey, what part of this is like the deal breaker? If guaranteed assignment is a deal breaker, then you're already starting in a hard spot. If you just want the MOS, then yeah, that's way easier. And that gives the recruiter some time to kind of play with on the active duty side, because I've had to hold people necessarily, right? Because they wanted a specific MOS. Leadership hates it. And hopefully your recruiter has a spine for it, because I did it and I would be telling people no, and no, and no, and they would hate me for it, literally. Yep. And I would be like, you can either have this person or get nothing.
Yep.
Like, let's be common sense here. You it's like getting a car. I want a car. You wanted a certain style. I'm just trying to help you do that.
100%.
And it's really easy. It's super easy. It's just the culture behind that isn't privy to it. They don't like that. Like, oh, this young person's not going to tell me what they want, but you want them. Like, there's a give and a take in that.
Yep, 100%. So let's see. Sumiyatu Jallo. Do they check Genesis with your medical pre-screen before you go to MEPS? Yes, they check it twice. They check it that's why it's called a pre-screen. And then they check it again within 24 to 40 hours before you get there. And if it's something minor, they'll approve you so you can get there. And then during your medical exam, any red flags or amber flags that popped up, they'll question you about it during your medical exam. And if everything's good, then you'll move forward. And if they say that you need a medical consultation with a specialist, then you'll be either temporarily or permanently disqualified pending a consultation with that specialist. And based on those results, your records, the CMO, the chief medical officer, would make a determination from there if you're good to go, need a waiver, or not authorized at all. So good luck to you. And may the MEPS gods forever be in your favor.
Good old Genesis.
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. Howdy, everyone. Just hashtag Team Swortz. Appreciate you. We got Nelson Medina, a channel member. Let's go. Hell yeah. Justin and Gian. Hey, bro. The first time I talk to my recruiter, should I sign anything? The only thing that you might sign when you first meet with them is your DD form 369, police record check form, and the EBC release form, so they could do the fingerprints, the background check. Other than that, they may or may not have you sign a US MEPCOM form called a 680, request for examination. And all that does is basically lock you in for that branch of service. And they just basically own your basic information, right? So let's say you decide to go to another branch of service, you would have to sign that same form and do I forgot what SPIF stands for.
Special processing.
Special form, something like that. Yeah, we're on the right track. But yeah, basically it's just changing ownership from one branch of the service and pulling it over to the next one so they can continue to process your record. But other than that, you're not signing a contract or anything crazy like that, so don't get nervous or anything. But you don't have to sign anything, but they do need to do fingerprints on you because they just recently changed it so that you got to get fingerprints done to get any type of special tests or the medical done at MEPS. So they're not going to have you go down there if you haven't gotten your fingerprint. So that's a recent update. Snips Clips. Hello, guys. Appreciate you. Call me Kylie. Hey, what's the lowest age people can join the military? From Canada. So with that being said, 17 years old, on track to graduate as a high school junior with parental consent. That is the minimum age requirement to join the Army as a whole.
The split shipper.
Oh, yeah. Unless they're like high speed and you're already a senior, super senior. So we got Peter Rivera tuning in from Florida. We got Nelson Medina from Phoenix, Alabama with the hashtag Team Swortz. Lillian with another hashtag Team Swortz. Also, if you message him on Instagram, he will usually reply back within 72 hours. Trust me, reach out. He does reply. Hell yeah, I do. Sometimes it takes me a little longer. Sometimes I'm faster. It depends on how busy I am. But I have like not medically diagnosed or anything like that, but I do have OCD. I don't like notifications pending. And if you do direct message me, just because you see me not looking at it doesn't mean that I don't see it. I don't like to open it up unless I know for a fact that I'm going to be ready to reply to you. Because I don't want to leave you left on red and be like, this motherfucker thinks he's better than us. He doesn't want to respond to me, you know? So that's how I treat my DMs, but they're very important to me, and I do get back to you hopefully within 24 to 48 hours, or in this case, 72 hours. Freddie Lopez, let's go with the hashtag Team Swords, Grand Rapids, Michigan. Welcome. We got Stephen Crosby from Alaska, Georgia, Puerto Rico, Army National Guard. I graduated in OSA August 12th as an 11 Bravo. Hell yeah, congratulations.
Good job.
Good luck in the next chapter of your Army career. And Young Savage says, can't hear anything. That's probably when my mic fell down. Or the docking station fell down the back of the desk. Devin Begay with the hashtag Team Switch. Appreciate you. We got Alberta here. Outstanding. God King, Alabama, I think. Hashtag, or the Team Swartz. I report basic today on my way to Fort Leonard, Missouri. Hell yeah. Look at that dedication right there. Getting in those last few minutes of my live stream before he goes into
L Dubs.
Hell yeah. Got New Hampshire in the house. And Caleb Brown 66. Did you see my questions from the last episode? Probably. So if I end the stream and I haven't gotten to everyone's question, I do skim through them looking for really good questions for future videos. But off the top of my head, specifically your name and question, I don't recall it, but you can go ahead and ask it again if you want. But again, if I don't get to your question in the live stream, or if your question or comment has a word or phrase that's blocked for whatever reason and I don't see it, I'm not skipping you. All right. The system, I have certain words blocked for a reason. So feel free to direct message me. And as Lillian said earlier, I reply to every single DM. So don't worry, I will get to you. Cody says, I have two questions. Question one, for those of us who are joining the National Guard, will we get any part of the PT uniforms before basic? Question two, is K9 a part of the 31 series? Yes, it is. But as Mr. Kodo was so kind to share with, you got to go as a 31 Bravo first, and then throughout your 31 Bravo career, at some point you would request becoming a Kilo. So as far as the National Guard is concerned, we're probably not going to have any K9 units, to be honest with you. It's not like we're going to train a dog for 2 days out of the month and be effective. So that's more or less, if you get deployed, then they'll send you to Kilo school, and then you'll serve as a 31 Kilo for the duration of the deployment. Like if we go to Guantanamo Bay, which we have, then you would reclass to that MOS. Now, as far as the National Guard and the PT uniforms, that's going to be state specific and funding. Sometimes we allocate funds for other things, like something general that's cheaper, like just a National Guard or RSP themed t-shirt. But yeah, sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. Depends. Courtney Mawson. Hello, my husband is in basic training at Fort Benning, Georgia, and I'm getting worried that I haven't been able to contact him. Don't know what unit or company he is in. What should I do? He's going to mail something to you, and it sounds like he's probably more than likely going through OSUT, one station unit training as an infantryman, and they don't get a whole lot of phone time. They're on a whole nother level. So just know that he's all right. If he's not all right, and he's obviously your husband, so if something goes sour, you're definitely going to get a phone call, Red Cross message and all that good stuff. But yeah, don't worry about it. He'll be all right. And you should be getting mail probably about 3 weeks after he starts basic training. Yeah, Sear said yes. I'm not sure what that was in reference to again. Caden, what's up? What's up? Let's see. Call Me Kylie says, what any movies or TV shows would you recommend for people joining the military? Hey, what's the lowest age people can join? I already answered that. I don't know. I wouldn't say there's any movie or TV show to watch just because you're joining, but some notable TV series I would recommend is The Band of Brothers in World War II. And I would say some of my favorite movies would be like Full Metal Jacket, even though it's the Marine Corps. No knock to them. Good movie, or at least the basic training portion of the video. And Black Hawk Down was a pretty good movie. Saving Private Ryan was another good one.
All good ones. It's just more stuff. Most of the military ones aren't really about like the basic training. Like Full Metal Jacket's probably the closest thing next to like some comedy ones.
Exactly.
But that's not the best place, I think. Like, you probably find more stuff on YouTube or online if you're trying to like research that more so, because there's plenty of things on Reddit, a bunch of threads you can just read up, and sometimes people share links.
Yep. I think Full Metal Jacket is more like a pastime, like an American classic. Edric Dayan, Air Assault tryouts October 29th and 30th. Good luck. All right. I hear it's physically demanding. So hopefully you trained for it. Hell yeah. Get it. Lillian also says, if you go active duty, is it difficult to get a college education? That's
No.
going to be MOS specific and the type of unit you're in, how often you're in the field. But it's not difficult to go to college, but it will be challenging if you wanted to like go full time. And you're definitely not going to be able to go into college in person. It's going to be online.
Yeah.
But what was your experience with college?
I think it kind of depends where. Like, yeah, more of it is MOS independent. So like me, I'm a commo guy, so I'm in communications,
You got all the
and
time in the world.
yeah. So like, it's not that we don't. We always have access to computers. So that's like the perfect sub scenario when you're thinking, hey, I have to take school online, as opposed to an infantryman who they get like one pit with a few computers, and that's if they're in the battalion or garrison. They don't have that in the field.
Yep.
So like, if you're thinking along those lines, maybe that would help. Would be pick something like that. If you work in a medical field, you're always going to be in a hospital, and the hospital has computers. So definitely, it just takes a lot more planning. And in some of the units that I've been in 7 joint units during my time, where even though the services, everybody has the same mindset for that. I got my associates, while I was in, and I'm currently finishing my bachelor's. So it just takes planning. That's the biggest thing, because you're going to be working, 6:30 till 5. And then after 5, that's your own time. So if that means you're taking 2 hours of classes, even when I was in psychological operations at Fort Bragg, there are soldiers that go just outside of base that go to Fayetteville Tech. So they would literally be like, hey, Sergeant, am I good to leave? And literally get in their car and drive to school because they were running to go make their class in person.
That's awesome.
If you have that availability, definitely take advantage of it, because not every base has that. So when you're in those situations, take advantage.
Mm-hmm. I just dropped Aaron BTV and Ben Allen. They were also active duty. I know Aaron BTV. Aaron says that because he's active duty, he's I think a dental tech or whatever it is on the active duty side or in the Army. He doesn't have to make PT first thing in the morning because he's got to be at duty cleaning teeth and stuff. So he has time. He has probably more time because he'll do PT on his own. So in the evening, he'll do PT and do online college. And because of his schedule, it works great for him. But if you're like going combat arms, you need to be out in the field a long time with limited connectivity, it's going to be tough and even more challenging. So again, a lot is going to deal with the unit you're in and the job that you're in and what's going on with the unit and where you're going from there, if that makes sense. Let's see. Francis O'Corley, I did not see any previous message before this one, so I'm going to assume that your first message before this got blocked for whatever reason, so I'm not seeing it. So I'm not sure what your question is, but feel free to direct message me on Instagram. Cody with the hashtag Team Swords, appreciate you. Young Savage says, so what type of content will you post once you're out? Will you still do recruiting Q&A or something different? So if I have it my way, I will retire and become a full-time YouTuber, content creator, videographer, editor, so on and so forth, basically starting my content creator empire, owning my own business, so on and so forth. I have some other big projects in mind that could be very, very lucrative, and it would force me to hire people because obviously I wouldn't be able to do it all alone. But yes, I will continue to do recruiting and basic training content, and if all goes well, my wife will become a recruiter herself in the National Guard. Because she's still relatively young in the service, she'll be able to get in 10 years worth of recruiting. So I will have longevity here on the channel, and she would probably eventually come on here and also engage in some Q&A sessions and speak on current events and current policies and all that great and glorious stuff. So I'm not going anywhere. I may start another channel because my other passion now is to help recruiters create an online presence and become an influencer themselves, and more or less a content creator that a byproduct would be influence, if that makes sense. But what I'm trying to stress upon recruiters is to create their own content so they can help out more people. Basically, kind of like how I do recruiting. I don't sell the guard. I help people, and it just so happens that people look to me to join in my area. So it just works. But that's my plan. Legacy. When you ship off to basic, are you considered active duty? Yes, because you're going to basic training, your AIT, or your OSUT. And if you're guard reserve, from there, after that, you'll go home and you'll go back to being a part-time soldier. But yes. Nelson Medina says, my National Guard recruiter was told not to mess with me because of a moral waiver, even though they think I can get in. So I went to active duty and going MEPS next week. Don't quit. Man, that's a sad story.
Don't hear it going that way too often.
Yeah, that's the wrong answer. That leadership needs to reevaluate themselves. I can see, hey, listen, you work the waiver as you can, but that shouldn't be your highest priority. But you still continue to work waivers because you never know when they're going to come back. It's like when you get it, it's like, whoa, Merry Christmas, you know? But maybe it was towards the end of the fiscal year and they were trying to process everybody that was ready to rock and roll so they can get that easy enlistment. That could probably be what it is, but it's up to you. There's nothing wrong with active duty, reserve, or guard. It's whichever one makes you happy. But I mean, if that's the way you want to go, then definitely go that way if that meets your goals.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with having a waiver. It's a commonplace thing. Like, just people don't know that they had a waiver processed against them, because there's waivers for more things than you know.
Oh yeah, a lot of things can get waived. Edric Dayan says, can I increase my GT score after I become a National Guard member? So yes, whether you're Guard, Reserve, or active duty, they have this 3-week course that you can do online now. The only caveat is, or the only issue is, it's got to be done on a DoD device, meaning a government issued laptop, and you got to CAC in. It's called BSEP, BSEP, and that will help you improve your GT line score over the next 3 weeks. So yes, it is possible. You will need commander authorization in most cases, and you'll need a counseling form and a letter from the commander authorizing you to do it. Cody Nicholson says, is corrections a part of the 31 series? Yes, it is. I think it's a 31 Echo, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if you remember off the top of your head, but I think it's an Echo.
No, I have.
So Legacy also says, how long is AIT for 25 Bravo? If you Google it, I had my screen up over here.
Oh, for it.
Yeah, but anyway. But yeah, if you Google it, you go to goarmy.com or nationalguard.com, it'll tell you how long an AIT is. Too easy. Lucifer Morningstar, another channel member with the hashtag Team Swartz. Appreciate you.
It's not a bad MOS either. Not a bad MOS.
Which one, Dad?
The 25 Bravo, because he's 25 series. Yeah.
That's like probably the most lucrative one, right? In common?
No, not in the slightest. See, the hardest thing for 25 Bravo is being in the field myself. It's like you have to tell people it's a certification based job. So like, if you want it to be lucrative, you have to take advantage of the time while you're in for things like TA and college help, because a lot of the things now through Cool and TA assistance, they pay for. So things like you're getting an A+ cert is super basic. They could probably pass that coming straight out of class. But like C+ or CISP or C++ or C+ or ethical hacker, these are all different things that communication guys can get access to. And the Army even teaches some of these classes. You get more of a chance to do it on the active duty side because it's full-time. But if you just have a chance at attending that class, you can always request it. That's the only real difference when you're talking like full-time versus the part-time scenario. So like anytime I was in a SIC shop, which is the IT department, any soldiers that I had, I'd be like, hey man, you need to keep enrolling in all these classes. because Cisco, which is the main company that produces these certifications, you know, they pay per one. And every time, if you stack them up right, you can literally get extra qualifications on top of that, to where when you get out, it literally is a choice. Like, do you want the military career, or do you want to go work for some company as an IT head? Because they will offer you that. They will offer you, like, you know, as an E4, I've literally seen kids walk away with $55,000 jobs just because they had one cert. If you have like 3 or 4 of those certs and you stack them up during your first like whole 6 years, they're making 6 figures. One of the guys that I had join within my last year joined as a 25 Bravo, and he got the super lucky role where his first assignment was signal towers in Fort Georgia. So at Fort Stewart, that's where that's where the communication center is anyway. So not only did he go to school there, but the biggest place that works, the guidelines, the rules, the backup, the teaching, the course curriculum usually comes between the schoolhouse and signal towers. And signal towers, you can be assigned at as a 25 Bravo. He got that. And on top of that, he got a garrison position. So he's not at unit level. He's at the level above that. So then he's working in like office stuff, operations. He's getting to see the bigger picture from a very brand new view. So that's something super unique to get luck out and get. And then because he's at that level, right, he has the direct access to take classes. So he literally like took notes before he left. He approached it very mature. Was like, yo, Sergeant Kodo told me this, like told me that. The moment I have a chance, I need to ask for this class. I need to ask for this class. And so far as I know, he's gotten 2 of those classes and he's been in less than 3 years. And didn't pay a dime. So like he's just setting himself up for like, hey, when I leave, I am going to leave and get a job if I don't want the military anymore. That's perfectly fine.
Use and abuse your military service to your advantage when you leave, because of the leadership training, the certificates, the licenses, the things that you will earn while you're in service. If you apply yourself, like he's saying, not just being a mediocre base level, get your MOS qualification, that's it. Like there are all kinds of different things that you could use your tuition for. There are certificates that you can use the same federal tuition towards to get these types of things. And sometimes, like he said, by the Army, it's free just by taking the course. But yeah, definitely. Welcome Felix Torres to the Team SWARTZ member portion of the channel. Appreciate you for joining my Team SWARTZ squad. And I think I missed it. Hang on. He also says, is there a general percentage for an individual to get an exception to policy for basic training as prior service? Infantry OSA is now 22 weeks. Keep up the great work and great content. Appreciate you. Thank you very much for the kind words. And again, welcome to the members portion of the channel. So with that being said, if you have not enlisted yet, as it is, you will have to understand that you will join with the mindset and understanding that you will complete Army basic training. After you sign your contract, they will submit your ETP, exception to policy. And if you have like combat experience and other types of experiences like that for meritorious reasons, then they will waive your basic training experience. But if you just had a normal, average, run-of-the-mill prior service experience, if it's just more than 5 years, they may entertain it. But if it's more than like 6 or 7 years, that's going to get more challenging. But if you had like deployments or something like that under your belt, then they will favorably consider your request. And most of those, in that case, do get approved, and you won't have to go through basic training again. All right. But good question. Let me scroll back up to where I was. Okay, so the next person is, let's see, Aim for Head says, what do the different Army units in the reserve mean? I'm going to RSG, Regional Support Group unit. What will this mean for deployments? 25 uniform will be my MOS. You want to tackle that one?
Oh, man. So 25 uniform, which is going away.
Is it?
Yeah, it's gone. It's already like merged. So 25
okay.
uniform, I think, is the one that was picked before. 25 Bravo and 25 uniform in the system still says that they're separate MOSs, but when they go to school, they are trained under the same umbrella as a 25 Bravo. So
Gotcha.
you're still going to be a Bravo. Doesn't matter. Receiving the same training. They're just keeping that allocation until they officially get rid of it. I think the announcement's already online. So if you Google the 25 Bravo merger, it's already public that they said they're merging these MOSs. Just like mine, like we talked in the podcast, they converted mine from 25 Romeo to now 46 Tango. So in a support group, usually your main job, right? The prior difference between a Bravo and a uniform is the front end, the back end. That's it. So Bravos deal with the front end stuff. You deal with loading computers and assigning IP addresses basically, and you learn like IP mapping. But the uniforms help with the back end of it. So they make sure like secure networks have access. The switches, the routers connecting to the server. They learn some backplaning stuff where it's like you learn how to actually install. That's a certification we all get in some of the communication fields, even in mine. Is there's you can learn how to install stuff in a rack. There is a way to do it. You just don't throw stuff in there. And you get certified for that. So they do a lot of that stuff, building those mobile server rooms or mobile server towers. And then as a support group, usually you'll get assigned, or there's already an ongoing mission that they already do. So you'll either cover an area. So like say you're in my area, like in South Jersey, and everything's usually at Fort Dix, right? So if your RSG was there, your area might be as far south as Baltimore, as north as New York, and as west as like Philly. So anything in that AO where different units have you tagged as the support group for them, you'll be doing the network support for that and new equipment exchanges and all that stuff tied to it.
Yep. Now, as far as the units being called like RSG, regional support group, or whatever, it's you'll find out when you get there, because like sometimes you'll just be an MOS in a different unit. Let's say, for example, you're an 88 mic truck driver, but you're in a chemical unit, right? Versus a transport unit. So it really doesn't matter. But just when you get there, you get there. Let it be a surprise. But yeah. Courtney Mawson, how many phases are there in basic training, and how long is infantry after basic? So infantry is 22 weeks straight. That includes the 10 weeks for basic training, 12 weeks of MOS training. All right. And there's so you got 3 for basic and 2 for AIT portion. So 5 phases in total: red, white, blue, black, and gold. Aim for head, Courtney there. Oh yeah. So there you answer that. Let's see. Side guy says 25 Bravo. AIT is 5 months for me at Fort Gordon. Good luck. Have fun. Legacy says, so what you're saying is if you are 36 and not a freak, we shouldn't even try. No, definitely try. Lately, age waivers up to 40 are relatively easy to get. It's when you get to 40 years old that it becomes a nightmare, and it's a hellish process. And it's got to be for an extreme meritorious reason. Like you were 39 and you just got your green card right before your 40th birthday. Like you could not join. Like you were limited to your eligibility status, and you just got it and you weren't able to process in time before your 40th birthday. So again, definitely do it. All right. Always let the powers that be make that decision rather than you deciding. Right. So don't let your recruiter tell you no, depending. Right. But for something like this, I'm not saying that it can't get denied, but it could definitely happen. So we lost him, but maybe he'll come back. But yeah, so definitely go for it. That's easy. 36, too easy. Kay Clark, I'm leaving for the 24th of Benning. Good luck. Keep your head down. Do what you're told. Be in the correct uniform. Have fun. Make friends. Do not get in any trouble. Attention to detail and teamwork is the key. All right. Clutch the Gamer. I turned 17 in March. Will I still be able to attend basic training in the summer? It's cutting it close. Is it possible? Yes. Is it likely? So I would definitely get with your recruiter as soon as possible so that they can basically do your ASVAB test, your medical exam, source all of your documents, completely build your packet so that all we got to do is once you turn 17, drop your paperwork on for or schedule you for enlistment for split op if that's the case. So get pre-qualified, ready to rock and roll so that when that happens, you're in there like swimwear. All right. Armed Citizen says, I'm 26 years old. I have never had a real job, and I believe the military is my path to go. I support it. I mean, if that's what you want to do, then definitely go for it, 100%. Never really had a real job? This will definitely be real, for sure. I lived in Binghamton. Oh, okay. So you used to be in New York. Awesome. Hallelujah, coming in from one of my members. What do they call it? Channel members. There we go. Hallelujah. Hell yeah. We got Montana in the house. Aim for head. Big Crab says, I'm 25. Never had a real job, but I want to join the Army as well. Definitely go for it. Don't worry about it if you have experience or not. As long as you can pass the ASVAB test, you are otherwise eligible to join. You could definitely come in here and kick ass and take names. All right, don't worry about age, is just a number. And again, don't worry about lack of job experience. Just do your best. That's it. John Nieves, well, I asked where should I go to try and join at least to the National Guard since I took the test. I don't remember when, but I were close to pass if I ordered to take the real ASVAB test so I could write. I don't know if it's because I read that really, really fast or I just got confused reading it, but your test scores are good for 2 years. So as long as you passed it, you don't have to take the test again. And good luck when you go through the MEPS process. May MEPS gods forever be in your favor. Small Eyes, have you had any recruits say anything bad about the medical staff or MEPS staff at Fort Hamilton? I am not at liberty to discuss that in a public forum. I already got a really heavy-handed slap for one of my MEPS videos that I posted a while back. I expressed my personal opinion, and it made it all the way down to the Pentagon and back. No lie. So I have no public opinion. Hashtag I'm just saying. But you can definitely direct message me if you want on Instagram at TEAM SWARTZ. Hashtag I'm just saying. Let's talk about it. EBK, Black Boy. I will be leaving to Fort Jackson, 91 Bravo, which is mechanic, on the 1st of November. Any advice? The only advice I can really give to you is watch my basic training miniseries so that you understand and know what you're about to experience. But take that with a grain of salt because everyone handles things differently. So just because you know what's going to happen, you and I could be in the same basic training with the same drill sergeants. I could be completely out of shape, for example. You could be like a PT stud. You can be like, man, basic training was a walk in the park. And I'd be like, no, man, I was dying. But we both had the same instructor, same experience, same graduation requirements. But I thought basic training was hard as hell, but you're going to be like, it was a cakewalk. So, yeah, just know what to expect, pack properly, and get your mind right before leaving. And I wouldn't even worry about it. The Army is literally dummy proof. They have a manual for everything. They will teach you the way, the basics. Then the on-the-job training will be when you get to your units, and you'll train even more. Jonathan Silva, more info on OCS. I have a bachelor's degree, but one DUI case. What's my chances of being able to get accepted? And if not, what else can I do? So that's going to be tough. In most cases, they're going to say no, but you never know. Me as your recruiter, I'm going to let somebody else say no. So I'll have you do the ASVAB test. I'll have you do the MEPS medical. I'll make sure that you otherwise meet the eligibility other than that DUI or DWI. And then I would set up the meeting or have like a 3-way phone call at the very least with the OSM, the Officer Strength Manager. And they can tell you right off the bat if you're otherwise eligible. Can you guys hear me? All right.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, I must have switched over to the computer. My AirPods tweaked. But I would let the OSM figure it out and tell you. And if that doesn't work, then we would look at your possible enlisted options and we would take it from there. I'm pretty sure active duty is even more strict.
Yeah, I mean, I probably would see them doing two things with that. Maybe if the recruiter sent out a feeler. So usually, because in this instance, say the one DUI, right? We already know he needs a moral waiver. So the moral waiver could just be the conversation with the local commander, and it's super simple. But when they explain that to them, if they say, hey, this person wants to be OCS, they're going to be like, I'm not endorsing that. So if they already immediately say that, they'll be able to tell you that like from the cut. They'd be like, hey, man, they're not going to endorse this. It's not going to happen. But if they did, they're going to probably approach it in like a nuanced way where it's like, hey, then they better qualify for OCS. They better score very well on the ASVAB and pass medical. And if you can do that, then you just kind of have like this loose sort of verbal contract thing where it's like, yeah, then we'll at least interview you. But the paperwork is still going before the board. So when you're talking you versus another candidate, you're automatically at a crutch because everyone else that more than likely is an OCS candidate does not have a DUI. So then you're going to be the bottom of the bottom every single time. And then you're just going to be, the no is coming. It's just a matter of when. Doesn't mean you can't be OCS though. The stupid trick to it would be join and then file for OCS, which is different because when you're on the inside, you're filing as a military person versus a civilian. Then the waiver will be already in your file and it's irrelevant. It goes away. So then you're just saying that you're, a specialist with a bachelor's degree. Done.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way. I always looked at it as like a form of credit, right? So as a civilian coming in, you don't have any credit, and the people that you're going to put on your application is not going to speak bad of you, right? They're not going to speak ill of you. So we're not really going to trust their word of mouth versus after 2 or 3 years of being in the service, now you want to go OCS, now you want to apply for a clearance position. You have that credit built up. You have credibility because now we can reach out to your leadership, former soldiers, so on and so forth. Hey, what is his character, work ethic? Have you seen him do anything crazy? You think he'd be a good whatever, blah, blah, blah. Now you have credit built up and credibility, and they could, trust the statements being said of former soldiers and leadership. So I would definitely agree with him on that for sure. That's how I pretty much describe it in my own way. Jonathan Silva says, mistake I regret. Not sure what you said before this because I don't see anything here. So whatever you posted prior to this probably got blocked for whatever reason.
Nah, he might be talking about the DUI.
Oh, right.
I mean, it's fine. That's kind of the nuanced difference between the two is because of that. Like when you're a civilian coming in, everything's got to be like you kind of have to be okay with handling everything over. Like, thank you, Genesis, to add another thing on top of that, because it's like now they want all your medical stuff. You can't just say something and take it word for word. That's gone. So that's kind of the difference. When you're in the military, they already, like you're talking about, that whole your performance can speak for you, and then just that just shuts up 90% of the haters, and then they're just looking for, you never got in trouble, you're endorsed by your command. Okay, cool, done.
100%. Francis Teal going to MEPS tomorrow. Most likely going to go in as a 35 Papa MOS. Ooh. Anything in a 35 series is going to be awesome, especially when you leave the military. The sky is going to be the limit. That's a very lucrative MOS.
Clearanced.
Oh, yeah. Cody Nicholson also asked, I have 2 questions for joining the National Guard. Will I get any PT parts for basic and corrections? Oh, we already answered that. Hank's Garage. Apparently they're not reading the banner down below. Attention to detail. Push.
Sorry.
Knockout 2-0. Hank's Garage says, is MAPS doing a Genesis poll on simple pre-screens before you get there? Or is that, did I go back or something?
I don't think so.
Oh, they're just repeating.
That's everybody.
Questions.
Everybody gets medicaled. Everyone.
Everybody lottie-dottie. There's a pre-screen, and if anything pops up, they'll ask you beforehand. But if there's anything in the system that is a no-go at the station. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. They will let you know you are not eligible for enlistment. Don't even bother coming in here. Let's see. Okay, that's not for me. So Johnny Evans says, this is my first join for the live stream from the Bronx, New York. And I saw that he said, yeah, so the latest comment he said is, where can I write you? So Johnny Evans, if you're still here, in the banner down below, it literally says it going across the screen right now. Direct message me on Instagram at TEAM SWARTZ. If you go into the description area underneath the video, my cell phone number is also listed there along with my email address, and I'd be more than happy to talk to you. Look forward to chatting with you. Tyler Tubbs, I'm at MEPS right now going for 68 Romeo. Ooh, what time is it? 8 o'clock. Even in California time, you should be at a MEPS almost. But yeah, man, that's a good MOS, I believe. We don't have any 68 Romeos in my area, but good luck. Hopefully you get what you want. Chips Ahoy! Can anyone tell me what the delayed entrance program is? I'm going in as a 09 Mike, and I don't know what that is. So I can address the 09 Mike, and you can definitely talk about the delayed entry program because we don't have that.
Yeah, it's just a name.
Yeah. But 09 Mike, I don't know if you're doing the academic portion or the body fat portion or the combination of thereof. But if it's the academics, then you're basically going through the BSEP course that normal soldiers get within 3 weeks. So over the course of 90 days, you're allowed to take the ASVAB test 4 times. The intent is to get you to pass the ASVAB and then move on to training. If not, as long as you continue to score over 21 and have qualifying line scores, you will continue to go as a Cat 4. Basically, somebody who's failed the test but have qualifying line scores above 21. But the other part of the 09 Mike option is if you are overweight and you exceed the body fat standards but less than 6%, you can still join. You go to Fort Jackson, same location for the 09 Mike as for the academics, but you'll learn about health and wellness and fitness, and you'll be working out every day, eating clean, and losing body fat. Once you get to no more than over 2% of the maximum body fat, basically meeting the ARMS 2.0 program, from there you will move on to basic training and continue your service. But be on the lookout for a video on 09 Mike soon. Just got to record it and edit it. But you want to talk about the delayed entry program? Because that's like definitely something you know way more about it than I do.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Like I did it. That's funny. But it's just depth. It's just a way in the system to get you to contract a year prior. So if you're a senior, you'll be in debt the whole time up until you have your graduation day. And then usually the way they work that is within 2 weeks, you're leaving. So say you graduate June 15th on the following year, they're going to try and get your ship date to be the end of July, early, middle of July to the end of June. So the reason why that's a tight window is because of 4th of July. So like me here, I entered it and then I graduated like June 20th, but there was nothing to take until the 4th of July and ended up leaving June like 9th or 10th or July 9th or 10th. So then that's when I went to reception and everything. So all it is just to tell you that you're going to be in a program where they keep tabs on you the whole time up to a year. And if it goes beyond a year, then a commander has to come in and say like what happened, what went on. They have to extend you. Did something happen to your MOS? Did they lose it? Whatever. And the 0 Mike allocation is basically like, that's just any special programs because on the active duty side, we can use that for like people in college getting special programs or like a CASA scholarship or the Minuteman. They'll throw them in there temporarily.
So yeah, thank you for addressing that. Appreciate that. Tyler Tubbs says, how you ever met anyone who is veterinarian food inspection specialist? I've never met one of those in the Army, but I think if you go 92 Golf culinary specialist, you'll get that certification. No? Oh no, you said veterinary.
He said vet, the vet food tech.
Animals. Yeah. Never ran into any of those.
I have only because literally.
Right?
Oh my, yeah, because I'm like super old anyway. But for me, it was like 2 units ago. one of the weird things you never think about, right? Like bases are like mini cities. So one time our dog, which she's been in and out of here every once in a while, there's canine services on base. So like there's a vet clinic on base a lot of the time. So those jobs associated to that, vet techs work at. Like they offer boarding, they offer shots, they take care of your dog, they spade, they neuter, they do all that.
That's awesome.
On base, cheaper than what you can usually get out here. And it's all done by a veterinarian, legitimate, more than likely still in the service. So, you know, we just happened to went to one and she got her checkup and I was like, hey, wait a minute. Everybody in here is, I think we only met like one contracted person and that was at an Air Force base. And it was like the secretary was the only contractor, but everyone behind the desk, which was like 14, 15 people, like 3 veterinarians and support staff, all were different MOSs tied to veterinarian. Oh, wow. And so I was like, oh my God, it's like it's a whole slew of y'all here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and it's more than what people think. Like they sleep on it, but it's like they do surgeries, they do all the same stuff. It's just not chosen very often.
Yep. Kiana Pasco says, is it true if you don't get at least a 50 on your ASVAB, you cannot get any educational benefits in your contract? I'm short 2 points, but I also already have my bachelor's degree. Can I get loan forgiveness? So she must be referring to the GI Bill kicker, because that's the only one that really requires a 50 or better. And the loan forgiveness also requires a 50 or better. But if you're going guard, state tuition assistance, and if you're going reserve or active duty or guard, the federal tuition will only cover up to $4,000 per year. But last time I checked, I have to double check, because you already have your 4-year degree.
Yeah, a lot of it's not showing up because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, that sucks. But last time I checked, you had to have completed ALC to be able to use your federal tuition towards a graduate program. I don't know if that's changed. It's been a while since I looked into that, because most people don't have a degree, so it's usually just a 2-year or 4-year degree. But I'd have to look into it. So if you direct message me, I'd be able to find out for you, unless you know.
For me, I mean, the most I would know would be that they cover up to a master's. They do cover graduate stuff. It's just capped. But you can get an associate's, a bachelor's, and a master's. That's where it's done. You can get one per. And now because of TA doing the whole merge with Cool and being able to use TA for certain cert-based things, yep. You can use that to get at least one cert for sure, and then more if you don't use it for school. So this money that you say you wouldn't use to go to chase after a graduate, well, then you can use it to say take a UAV pilot program or Security Plus or Network Plus. You could take a life coaching, whatever. As long as it's a real certification that they can reflect in the system, they'll be able to go through it with you at an education center. And they'll say, yep, yeah, we cover that. And if not, they can do waivers for saying that it's something unique, not based in the system. Like me, I have a lot of Six Sigma. I'm a master black belt. So Six Sigma is one of those ones it's an efficiency certification. They'll pay for you to go to a class.
Okay. I know that when the education center came down to talk to us during one of our conferences pre-COVID, like right before COVID, they were saying that if you had used federal tuition towards your undergraduate degree, that you would have to wait until you completed ALC, Advanced Leadership course, before you could use the federal tuition towards a graduate program.
Oh,
so
no.
That's why I said I had to.
Yeah, I had never heard that on the active side. It's always been they will cover up to a master's. After that, it's hands off. Like if you want to chase a doctorate, which I know a couple of people who have, chasing a doctorate is all on you. The only real benefit beyond that nowadays is like the new federal student loan forgiveness, which is not military based, that like the president and the education department is pushing. A lot of the ones that are getting approved are vets or active duty service members. So if you had to do this where you chased a graduate degree, got past the 250 cap, and your cap is say $400 and you're taking on debt, then you can apply for that. Say, hey, I'm a vet. I'm paying out of pocket $100 and some a month, per semester hour. Would I be able to get this current debt waived? And a lot of people are getting that waived. Just takes time. You just got to fill out the paperwork and see if you get it or you get the lucky draw. And if not, you just apply next semester.
So Kiana, if you're still here, the other thing I want to throw in here is, as a new person coming in, there are requirements like scoring a 50, signing up for 6 years or more, and so on and so forth. But it sounds like you're obviously going to be going to school still, and you're going to be taking out student loans. So it's a one-time deal. So I would suggest doing a 3 or a 6 year contract, maybe 3, because you're going for a graduate degree. It's usually 2 years long. Finish your education, and then at that point, just by being a current service member, all those other requirements that you're worried about now, scoring a 50, whatever, is out the window. It just has to be a qualifying federal student loan that's deferred or in good standing, meaning it's not in default. And then you could use and get the student loan repayment program, which is what you're talking about, the loan forgiveness, as long as you sign up for at least or re-enlist or extend your contract for at least 6 years. And there's no restrictions other than just having that 6 year contract. So currently, if you extend for 6 years, we'll pay up to $45,000. And if you do 8 years, we'll pay up to $50,000, at least for the National Guard. I'm not sure what Reserve Active Duty do, but it's probably around the same thing. And the other thing is, you got to understand with the loan forgiveness, on paper and in the advertisement, it sounds like it's a very lucrative program. But I like to keep it 100 on here. So the downside to this program is, yes, over the next 6 years, we will pay up to $45,000. But the way it works is, let's say your contract ends today. That means that first payment is not going to kick in until that 1 year anniversary from today, from the effective date of your new contract. Then they will only pay out up to 15% or up to $7,500 per year for that one payment. The other 11 months, you're still obligated to pay your monthly installment unless you come to a mutual agreement with your debtor to make that one payment per year, that 15% suffice for the year. And then every year on that anniversary date, you will continue to get 15% or up to $7,500 to pay off towards your principal for the duration of the rest of your contract. So again, that's only off of the principal. The interest is always going to be on you. We're only going to pay towards the principal. So yes, in theory, it sounds great, but it's not quite as lucrative as it's advertised or explained by recruiters. So I'm just keeping it 100 with you. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, I mean, that's usually how it goes. A lot of the times, like there's more than one way to kind of do things sometimes, even with that federal cap with the VA and veterans, where they bring that percentage down to like 3 or 4%. So even if your current student debt is higher than that, once you get in, you can file and say, hey, I joined the military here. Whoever you joined with, it doesn't matter. Say that you're currently a vet, and whatever your current rate is, they're forced to drop it to that amount. There's no way around it. They can keep it at that rate for so long. Usually it's like up to 2 years. And then unless you do active duty, then it's permanent. And then that saves you a chunk of the interest, like Sergeant Schwartz is talking about, right? So sometimes, even though you might not get the loan forgiveness in the contract, that's another way to kind of approach it, is just join. You're already done. Defer the payments. That'll keep it in good standing, right? The moment you get to AIT and you graduate, hey, I'm fully fledged, I'm trained, I'm getting assigned here, and send them back that paperwork with the federal program and just state, hey, you can no longer make me pay this amount. I can only pay this much. And they'll bring all the payments down, and they'll have to readjust the entire thing. And you may end up with like a couple extra payments. And then now you can start paying on a more realistic level.
Yep. So she also asked, hearing that nowadays basic training will allow trainees to get their phones every Sunday. Is that true? So during COVID, yes. Now that we're transitioning out of COVID, it's really and it's always been up to the basic training leadership. Typically, under normal circumstances, when you phase up to the next phase, you'll get 30 minutes or so on the phone. And just understand that cell phones are a privilege, not a right. So it's up to the leadership to allow that. So I would say don't expect it. If you get it, Merry Christmas. But yeah, so if they, yeah, I won't get into the rest of that, but yeah, so just, yeah. So Lului or something like that. Sorry, I jacked that up. Can you join without a GED or a high school diploma? The answer to that is no. Unfortunately, you do need a GED or a high school diploma or 675 clock hours. But
the Linda trick.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the Linda trick, but you could do if you direct message me on Instagram, I'll send you the link to an online-based program called Sophie or something like that. Sophia something or other.
Oh, Sophia Learning, yeah, that's another one.
Yeah,
it's just basically the Linda trick was there used to be an online platform called Lynda that I think it was LYNDA that actually became LinkedIn Learning. What it was prior was it was like an online library for taking classes that were like, old school stuff and sometimes just low level courses. So first year, second year courses. Another version of Lynda became Sophia. So Sophia is just the same thing, but that's the trick where as long as it's 12 hours, you can say that you're a currently standing first year college student. And then that's the cheat is you may not have a GED, you don't have the high school diploma, but the next step is to say that you're a freshman college student. And then you would prove that with a transcript stating that you have at least that many hours. And then you don't even need the GED and you don't need the high school degree. You just need to state that you're currently taking classes in a college level and you're passing those classes and you don't have any problems with that. That's the only like side step to it.
So when you do Sophia, it's a subscription-based program. So it's free for the first 30 days, like a trial period. So you can knock out as many credits as you can, just knock out 15 college credits, and then we can use that in lieu of your GED and high school diploma. It's going to be considered a tier 2 evaluation. It'll get you to join, but you won't be eligible for incentives like a bonus and all the other stuff, right? So you'll be able to get your foot in the door, basically. And one of my subscribers actually listened to me, messaged me on Instagram, did Sophia, and he's enlisted going active duty. So it does work. Steve Crosby says, embarrassing question. Working with an Air Guard recruiter. I'm 33 and working on some medical records from when I was a kid. Just found out I might have an anal fistula. Should I worry? I'm not sure exactly what that is, but if you overcame that, you don't have any signs or symptoms. Again, I would have to research it, but with the CMO, depending on how they feel, I mean, anything could be disqualifying. You could sneeze the wrong way and they're like, disqualified. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for me, the way I'm thinking it, what it is, I would probably state I would wait because that will get you DQ'd because of the fact that they are going to check. They check everybody. Mm-hmm. So things like hemorrhoids or abscesses or large hold scars that aren't healed. Even if we've had a person where going active duty, a female had a cat and scratched her forearm. And it was just right before she was trying to go to MEPS and they DQ'd her because she had fresh scars. So they're like, you have to wait now. So any kind of thing like that, definitely tell your recruiter, let them know what the hell's going on. Like, hey, I'm not trying to hide it, because that's just going to help him or her get some kind of a shield back for you with MEPS. And like, hey, I have to cancel this reservation. I have to cancel the projection for this person doing medical. I'm sorry. They have something, anything. They don't really have to pass. No, go ahead.
Yeah, no, sorry.
No, I was just saying, it's like they don't really have to tell them everything because it's MEPS. It's like I've even had to say reschedule somebody because they caught a cold or didn't have a ride to get to the station or something. Whatever that minor excuse needs to be is simple. What you don't want to do is go all the way to MEPS and then drop out of the medical process, because that helps nobody. You'll be a floor loss before you know it.
Yep, 100%. And going off when you were talking about hemorrhoids, I've had everyone who had hemorrhoids before enlist. I haven't had anyone not enlist. As long as you're not bleeding from the hemorrhoids, you should be fine. You just won't be able to go airborne and stuff like that. But let's see. Courtney says she's from California. Outstanding. Brad says, I'm overweight, but my sergeant told me about a program that is required 100 in the TAPIS. Can you tell me more about this program? It's probably referencing the 09 mic option, where they're probably requiring you to get 100% on the TAPIS. So I can't tell you specifically like how to manipulate the test, but read between the lines. So avoid the emotional responses and choose the other. So the test is designed to give you 2 negative responses that best describe you. And they can give you 2 questions like, I don't work well with others, or I get angry easily. They both are bad, right? But steer clear of the emotional responses and just choose the other one that's the lesser of the 2 evils. At the same time, you have to think about maintaining the consistency of your responses. So if you say that you don't work well with others and they give you a similar question with that option, you can't choose the other option. So you got to be kind of like consistent with your responses. So just be true to yourself, but have emotional control, if that makes sense. See, aim for head. Steven, you'll have to get it cleared and then wait. Let's see. I am 20 years old. I graduated high school, class of 2021. All right, cool. Good to go. Big Brother 1984, welcome back. Are stress cards a thing in the Army basic training nowadays? I keep hearing about it, and I just want to know if it's true or not. It's an urban legend that's been debunked. It never existed, period. Just never was a thing. I mean, I've never seen a stress card. Have you ever seen a stress card? Because as far as I'm concerned, a stress card, you have?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. From what I known, it was a test pilot program that they ran in different basic trainings. One of them was Fort Benning. One of them was at Fort Jackson, where soldiers were given the myth is one was like it looked like a red card, literally like from soccer, like a red card. Yo, I've seen the camouflage one, not the red one. So the camo one usually said stressor.
First person ever that's actually seen it, because it's literally on a website called or something like that.
You know, it's an old school like camo print. Like when I came in, it says stressor card, and it's literally just so that you can say, hey, I'm like hitting my limit. Because a lot of kids were coming in that at my era and similar probably yours, right? When drill sergeants are in your face, we're talking like they can touch you with the brim of their hat and peck you. You know, people react differently to that. Now that doesn't really happen, right? Like
can't happen now.
It's the arm distance. Like if I can swing on you, that's you're close enough. Like so that's kind of the difference. And these stressor cards were fun. Like that's all they were used for, to see if it was ever going to be a thing for basic training. It never went anything beyond the test phases. It was those few groups where they printed like 500 of these cards out, and that was it. That's how I ended up seeing it. Was like, I heard this BS thing, and one of the cool drills was like, you ever see one of those? And I was like, oh my God. And I read it like immediately, because you could see it. It's like big old like bold Army stencil print. And I'm like, that is the ugliest looking thing I've ever seen. And then we just talked about that, and I was like, that just sounds so cheesy. Why couldn't you just say I need a minute? Like,
I don't know, man. I'm skeptical. That sounds like a fake card that he probably made himself.
It's just cheesy. But that was a program. Like they do things that people don't hear about. Are basic training is used a lot of the times for pilot programs. One of them is a leadership program sometimes. So even I was a part of that, where I didn't really go to a reception battalion. I was immediately handed over to a leadership battalion, where I went to reception for like my first 10 days. And they told us we were going to a basic training, and we weren't. We were in a pilot program. And the only difference was you had no senior leadership. You had one drill sergeant, a first sergeant, and a commander. And the one drill sergeant that was on duty would rotate. And it was a small group. It was just a select pool of like 50 of us. So that's how they maintained that. And they taught you drill and ceremony. They taught you commands. They taught you rank structure earlier. And we went through that for 3 weeks. And the only benefit was to see if that style of teaching would work better in basic training. That was it. It was cool for us because they gave us like
to see what the results of that pilot program were like.
I mean, I don't know. I knew some of the people, like I never got to see some of them except one other dude. And as far as I know, he was English as a second language, straight from Puerto Rico. He only spoke Spanish. He was a master sergeant when I re-met him in DC when I was working under special assignment. Literally, he saw me from like across the yard and was at like a retirement ceremony and heard that I was helping work it. And that dude screamed my name and was like, Sergeant Kodo? And I was just like, yo, like, why is anybody yelling? And he ran across this like 5 ballroom area and gave me a huge hug, because initially he didn't speak that. And me being Puerto Rican, I was born here, but I can only like basically translate. So that's how we knew each other. Yeah. So drill sergeants would be like yapping at him and he just dead deer in headlights. Like, you tell him to do push-ups. Like, oh, okay, dude. Like, all right. Like, you could just say that. He understands that. He just didn't understand all the yelling and what you did before that.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like a thing. And you see that actually still today with like leadership classes for ALC and WLC and SLC, where even when I went to PLDC, and we teach other foreign armies, right, with the same model. And that's how like some of our additional funds come from. We send, like the Polish army will send their NCOs here and we train them just like us, no different. But what they use them is for like little test bed things like that. Like, can we change the model to be like asynchronous to synchronous? Meaning, are you co-located with your teacher or are you unlocated with your teacher? Like, which one's more beneficial? And they do that. It's just the nuances of the army that most people don't get to see.
Yeah, definitely. So we got Yorker Gaming. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. I really do appreciate that. Maybe you remember me, officer. I came last week and I passed the ASVAB yesterday, got a 39. I was trying to get to the overweight program, but I got a 98 on a TAPAS. Is there any way I can get into that course? Unfortunately, you have to ace the test. And unfortunately, you can... I have to look at the rules and see if you can redo the TAPAS. I don't recall if you can or can't. I don't think you can, but I have to double check.
I mean, unless it's the time expiration, maybe. I mean, the only thing I can think of would be, I know sometimes talking to the guidance office will be like the feeler, like, hey, I have somebody with a special circumstance. I just need them to do, say, the ASVAB again, because this is like a weird, goofy, unwritten rule, right? Like, you don't retest again. And the only reason why there is a rule that is written, that's in the enlistment process, that states that you cannot retake the test for the benefit of a program. So that would be the difference, is you can't take the ASVAB again to qualify for something you didn't do the first time.
Exactly.
So, you know, and you can't take TAPAS in this instance again. But the rule beyond that would be if it expires, 1 or 2, that the guidance counselor makes a case for you, because they're the ones that have to answer for supposed retesting people, not necessarily a recruiter or an office. So if they can go to bat for you, supposedly in certain circumstances, some people have retaken a test, some people have retaken an ASVAB, and that's all it took.
Yep.
So if that's gets open to you, like, definitely don't even mess around and take it with a grain of salt, because they could hit the reset, you go take it again, and then you get 98 again. What you gonna do?
Yeah.
Like,
if you are able to retest, you're definitely gonna have to wait at least 30 days, just like the regular ASVAB test. But this is a specialty test, and under normal circumstances, it wouldn't even be required to pass. You would just need to take it, right? But because this is a special program that you're trying to qualify for, you're trying to see if you have the appropriate character and demeanor for this program. So I will have to do some digging. Obviously, you've been in my office before, not under me, but if you direct message me on Instagram at TEAM SWARTZ, coming across the screen right now, I will look into it this week with the guidance counselor and see what he says we can do on your behalf. But yeah, hang in there.
Maybe even a MEPS ETP, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, you can request an ETP on whatever you want. Whether or not it gets approved is a different story.
Well, the lucky thing is just because if it's just a testing, right? Like, that would be like a point exemption. So it'd be, you know, what was the question that he got wrong necessarily versus the points. Like, if it's something super sensitive or an emotional response one, then yeah, they're not going to budge. They're going to be like, nope, sorry, he answered that wrong. If it's something fluid or something, you know, more broader, then yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, we'll be in touch if you direct message me for sure. Chips Ahoy also says I'm 20, graduate. Oh, yeah, we already talked about that. I'll hang on to that. Okay. Bad Boy says, can you go from reserve to active duty? Yes. It's called a conditional release. As long as the 06 signs off on it and the active duty will accept you, then you could definitely do so. There are prior service business rules that you have to understand. I'm posting them in the chat box now. It should be in the description area. I don't recall. I know it's underneath one of my other videos, but there are select MOSs and opportunities that you will be restricted to as a prior service individual going back to active duty. You have anything from an active duty recruiter perspective you want to add to
that? Usually, I think for 368s, all they're going to do is they're going to align them, so they don't really have to go through anything again. They just process the 368. It would just, on the MEP side, it becomes like a spiff, and then they blow out the information with that move 5 or move 4, whatever that goofy one is. And then when the information resets again after they have the file, they're just going to send out for assignment.
You're explaining it like they just enlisted and want to go active. I took it as that they were knee deep in the reserve, like completed training and then want to go active. Yeah, let us know if you mean like you're in the middle of your contract or you just contracted. He's got it right. That sounds more what would happen if you have not shipped out to basic training yet. Correct? The way you
because if other than that, if he was still here, then it would just be the spiff process of switching them from one to another. That there's nothing. The only south thing that could go wrong would be like dates don't match up and it forces a reno. Yeah. Because of unit manning, not because of an active duty thing.
Yeah.
With this does happen a few times. Like in the active duty office, this does happen where people will have the idea, I want to go active duty, and then they'll tell the recruiter, hey, I want to go part-time now. And the recruiter just goes like their head explodes, right? Like that shouldn't be the case. Like there's paperwork for a reason. We would just spiff you over. Typically is what they would do is they just electronically say that you're not going to be under the active duty umbrella. You're going reserves. Yep. That's it. And we just wait for that process to go through. But if you're already in, then we need the 368. And the 368 is just going to tell Big Army, hey, you guys have this record. We're going to officially transfer him to active duty or her. And then when they say, yep, we understand this person with this social is going active duty, all we do is we send that back to MEPS, and MEPS is going to send it back through the pipe for assignment. And then you're going to leave your local unit and you're going to get orders through MEPS. And MEPS is going to say, you're going to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. This is your new unit, active duty, starting this date. And then they're going to work in the travel office for like your orders, your shipping, and all that other stuff that normally would happen between units on the active duty side.
Gotcha. Yeah, but if you're knee deep in your contract and you want to switch over, then you would have to get a 368 signed off and then go through an active duty recruiter to get back in. With that said, from a active duty recruiter's perspective, when you have someone that's guard or reserve looking to go active duty, do you get credit for that contract or no?
I think all they get credit for is a ship. So if it's a guardman going active or a reservist, it's still the same initial paperwork. So there's no testing involved. There's no physical involved unless they mess up something. So that's usually the biggest hiccup between the two, right? Between those scenarios where it's either a medical thing because your medical has to be green. So people will forget like, yo, I have to do my annual dental check in like 2 months. And this is during that window. If you go red, you just invalidated the whole process with that. Because once they pull that jacket and it states anything other than green, they're going to tell MEPS you got an issue. So you have to be green on everything, just like that's their skip. So you don't do anything with medical. And then they take that. And when they get the verbiage back from the system from medical, it'll state, no, they don't. They're medically exempt. They're good to go.
Yep.
And then all you need is the paperwork, the admin side through the 368. And then they push from there and you're done. We just work the timelines out.
Yeah, the complaint I would get consistently in my DMs when a reservist or guard member tries to go active duty is that the active duty recruiter drags their feet in processing them. That's why I always like to ask, do you like not get credit for it and you're just doing it at the gracious of your
No,
own
because that's the only credit you get is the shipment part, the leaving that you help someone leave, right? So it's not really
towards your number for the year then, right?
It would be on a shipping. Yeah, it'll be on the end doc, so it'll be like your total would count, but when you're looking at your full record as an active duty recruiter like mine, I have one of those cases where it was someone where they were out of a different area, kind of like how you deal with, and a recruiter dropped the ball and was super pissed off and made the family upset. And then that dude actually moved here.
Gotcha.
But all his record was like good to go. And it was like, why did you just let this person piss him off and whatever happened between the two? But all we did was do a MEPS to MEPS. I got a handed little record, literally got looking at the file, like made sure all the paperwork was re-signed, and it was all done. And all we wait for is the fallout from that.
So it's not necessary. That's when you get the credit for the enlistment.
Yep, and then we get credit for just the shipper, no enlisting.
Active duty recruiters like to drag their feet when it comes to prior service individuals, or is it because of the?
I think it's because of the
poo platter type.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's that. I think that adds to it because that's like a different scenario. But like MEPS doesn't help the scenario, right? Because those people that are in these boats, MEPS has to push the record around. So what they're supposedly to do, right? What they're supposed to do is they're supposed to overnight ship it, which they can do, or up to a week. Sometimes they don't do that. Yeah, or sometimes someone says that they sent it and then they're like, all right, give me my tracking number. Oh, well, you're going to be one of those guys, right? Yeah, bro. I know you. I am going to be that guy. I was that recruiter. What the hell are you talking about, bro? I want to know where my boy's packet is. You told me you FedExed it and it's not at MEPS. I want to know why. Yeah. So if that's the case, like that's where the difference is. It's because like you have a lot more outsiders involved versus the office scenario. Yep. So going between MEPS could get a hiccup, right? The intake at MEPS could be a hiccup. Medical at the new MEPS could be a hiccup. Mm-hmm. Assignments and contracts at the new MEPS could be another hiccup. So all those guys, all those girls working in those positions, anybody could drop the ball. And then the recruiter is the one that's on the front end like, yo, why's my stuff taking so long? Bro, I don't know. I can't go in there kicking 50 doors down. I could, but I'm gonna get fired if I do that. So like all I can do is send a request to my guidance office and say, hey, yo, why is this taking so long? This dude's been on the books for some odd days. And the prior service thing, I think that's just they don't really know. They're not really informed about the prior business rule thing. That's why. So they come in thinking, hey, I'm good to go. I left. I'm golden, right? I can just come right back in. Nope. Pump the brakes, bro. No. Let's be honest and upfront that not everyone leaves on good terms. Mm-hmm. So just because you were in uniform, don't mean you're welcomed right back in uniform.
Yep, 100%.
So if you were good and you're an RE1, yeah, sure. Then we gotta still look. You still have to do due diligence to the paperwork, and you still gotta read it, and you still gotta read the characterization of it, because some people get snuck. Some people be like, hey, we're just gonna admin release you from the Marine Corps. Seen that one a bunch. And be like, okay, cool. Hey, just give me your 214 and we'll go over the short code. We'll go over the RE code for the Marines and what it converts to in the Army. And then as soon as you see it, now we got to have like come into genius moment and be like, hey, man, I know they told you they admin separated you, but what this translates to the Army is say you were psych eval'd, dropped out of that service. And you'd be like, they're just shocked. They'd be, what?
That's why I tell them when you're getting processed out, make like with my soldiers, like if for whatever reason you're getting chaptered out of training and you haven't completed everything, read everything that you're signing. Don't just sign it.
Yeah, don't just think somebody's like giving you a 1-up. That's
exactly, because they'll tell you, oh yeah, you're getting medically chaptered out, but you're really getting chaptered out for pattern and misconduct.
Yep.
I've seen that so many times in the early part of my recruiting career. I haven't seen too much of that in the last decade, but the first 8 to 10 years of recruiting, that was definitely a common thing. Like during Afghanistan, Iraq war and efforts and stuff, I would see that all the time. That they get out for medical, and I'm like, no man, you got out for pattern misconduct or whatever. They just
that was
$2 for disability.
Yeah, that was the only. That was one of my only waivers that never could get any beyond that, and that was because it was like I'm pretty good at the paperwork side, so it's the follow up and the paperwork. Like you got to be. For me, when I was on active duty on recruiting, like I tried to treat everybody the same. I didn't care who you were. I didn't care who you were from. You were getting the same level of service. whether you were a kid down the street or a kid from like the worst part of the town. Like, I didn't care. That's fair. So sometimes people don't be upfront with that information, and that's where it gets a little weird and loose, is because they don't tell them the real behind what happened. And that was literally the case I gave as an example, was literally what happened. He was a prior Marine Corps guy, and he didn't understand. He just thought he was getting chaptered out normally, and that was not the case. So that sucks when you get in those scenarios, because some of these people really want to join, and just because this flurry of stuff is happening, you know, and they just take advantage of it, and they're like, yeah, we'll just get him a dishonorable discharge and he'll never read it. It's not going to matter. And we'll mail it to him. You know, that doesn't happen too often, but we're talking like 09, you know, pre-09 era-ish. You know, not like 12, 13, 14, where like people left with a copy in hand. And then they were like, you know, you got to sign right here, and you get to read it. You be like, no, you're not getting me with this. Like, that's not happening.
Yep, 100%. Let's see. Can you join the military at 18 years old? Corrections part of 31 series. Yes, Cody, it is. JC Spectro says, I would like to join the show. You can direct message me on Instagram. We'll talk about it and see what happens. I'm looking to bring more people onto the show to add different perspectives and experiences and insights to help people make a well-informed decision and share their story. Call Me Kylie says, what's your thoughts on Kabul incident last year or whatever? I don't have an opinion. Definitely not a public one. But thank you for the question. Let's see. Vera Irons, thank you both. Great stuff. Did I hear 31 Foxtrot? Could you tell me more about this MOS, please? Unfortunately, I don't know anything, but you're probably more versed in this, possibly.
Which one is it? 37? Talking about PSYOPers?
Yeah, 37 Foxtrot.
Yeah, I think that's what that is. Let me see.
Yeah, I think that is PSYOPs.
PSYOPs. So PSYOPers are different. So like, that's one of my prior units is, it's a higher grade MOS. So like you come in straight as an E5 because you're going to go to school so long. You usually go through, what's the long name, but it's the United States Army, like Joint Forces Command Operations and Specialist School. Mm-hmm. It's like JWICS or used to JWICS. It's at Fort Bragg. It's just got a really nasty looking acronym. But that's who when I was in PSYOPs, that's who we would do some of the trainers to. So anybody going through that MOS, it's not necessarily a starter one, but their job is to help do influence in a foreign country. So most of the time they have to be foreign language certified. There is a thing that the Army watches for that. You do get a grade in a foreign language when you're officially carrying the pay of that. So they pay you for that. The last guy I worked with was Spanish qualified. He was 3+. So they just do reading and language, but you get tested in reading, writing, and talk. So you have to do all three. And there is a level from 1 to 3 and plus, and beyond that. Plus it just means like you're fluent. And you get paid accordingly. So, and it's 2-tiered. So you got the 2 sides. So 1-0, like maybe you suck at writing, you know, that's still rated. That is usually the lowest that they can accept as a Fox. So if you fall off and you become 0-0, you get gooseneck. That's it. You're done. They're probably going to remove you from the MOS. Though you'll get a warning at 1-0 stating like, hey, you need to study some more. You need to read whatever you're falling off on to become back a 1-1. But that's it. So most of their jobs entail in-country stuff, like talking to villagers, talking to local people, getting a feel for the culture, getting a feel for who the village elders are, the village leadership, and that's their job. They're culture type teams. And that's in Africa, that's in like some parts of Europe, some parts of like Eastern Europe, Middle East, that they go a lot of places. Some of the times that I worked with them it was the Middle East. So they were super cool people. They just have a very unique job. And most of them speak languages, and that's the hardest kind of like subset thing on top of the job to deal with.
Sounds like a pretty challenging MOS.
Yeah, like the first dude I met, he spoke Tagalog, I think is what it's called, and it's like Philippine. It's an old form of like in the Philippines, an older language. So when you pick a language and you get qualified in that language, the uniqueness of it makes it just as hard, because you might be in a PSYOP regiment but there isn't going to be another one like you. And that was always his case. And he was married into it. Like his wife was Filipino. So like they could speak to each other. And that was like keeping him afloat. But if you did like Spanish or Russian or German or for the like, if you're talking about like Middle East specific, like Farsi and whatever the other one, Darkpa, whatever the D one is. The two dialects that they do, it's like Spanish. Like Spanish is what most people would say is known around, but there's different dialects. We're talking like Spanish from Spain, Mexican Spanish, Puerto Rican Spanish, Spanish from South America. We all talk a little twang.
Yeah, I recently learned about the different dialects.
So like, and I knew that from being an international soldier because I worked for NATO too. So that was my first like slap in the face with that, with what little Spanish I know. I was just like, oh my God, like it was like nails on a chalkboard to hear that kind of a Spanish where like Spaniards slur their words a lot, you know, como estas and things like that. I'd be like, what, I can't tell what that letter is. So there's different dialects to the Middle East. Like not everyone, there's no given guaranteed language. So there's like 7 different sets of languages there and they all have a certain flow. There's a certain way it's written. There's a certain way that they talk.
Yep.
So that's how you get qualified. It's super cool. Like it seems interesting because you're always translating languages. You could be translating messages. You could be doing, you know, secret stuff. You could be doing top secret stuff.
Yep.
Me, I was doing top secret stuff. So like that's weird.
Yeah. That doesn't sound like something I would be interested in. That's for sure. That's too much work for me.
It's a lot. Like they do a lot for that language stuff. So that's what's cool. Like even like crypto linguists like that, they're just as busy. It's like the steady translator all the time. Even if it's a recorded message, it's a lot of work. Like you're gonna earn your paycheck.
Alyssa Frick says she's Brazilian native and has been having trouble passing the ASVAB. Tried 3 times now, and the highest that she could get is 16. Do you think that it's worth for me to wait to get Cat 4? As long as you have qualifying line scores, then you might not have any other choice right now.
I mean, they might have her as Cat 4, but there's not going to be any score that qualifies her for that.
Yeah, very slim. If you could try to, what I would do is I would pay for a tutor and try to get up to a 21 so that you could go into the Flurry program. If your English is good enough to score between, I think it's a 40 or 45 to like a 70, 74. I can't remember what that happy medium is, but on the English comprehension language test, I did a video on it. I'll post it here if you're still here. But I talk about the eligibility requirements, but they teach you English for up to 6 months in paid status, like you would normally on active duty. And it's open season right now, so I would definitely pay to get a tutor. And then after that 6-month waiting period, you could retest and hopefully get that 21 or better.
Yeah, the first guy I thought I had to do Flurry for, and he took the ECLT and he overscored, and I was like, oh man, because the English comprehension test is just for people who don't know. That's literally the Flurry program exists for people to prove that the reason why you're not passing the ASVAB is because you cannot read or just comprehend English. It doesn't mean you're stupid. It just means you don't understand English. Right. That's it. The Flurry program is like the answer to that, and you're stating that, hey, I'm going to take the English test, and the English test is going to prove that you don't know English fluently. And the caveat is either if you're really, really bad, they know like that you're not understanding half the test. That's why there's a range in the middle. And if you know English very well, like my first guy did, you just proved that you just answered wrong on the test. You understand English just fine, bro. Take the test again. Like that's literally what happened. I was like, oh man.
I had a fake Flurry. I was like, listen, you're gonna answer one right and the second one wrong. The whole test. He got a 54. I was like, right on, man.
Perfect. They don't care as long as it's good enough.
They know that the Flurry program is like, all right, this group over here, you are fake Flurries. You're gonna help us teach over here.
Yeah, like my guy, he got like an 88, and I was like, oh no, it's too good. And then we rescheduled him. Thankfully, he passed. And then I was able to get him an aviation mechanic job. So like it worked in his favor because he scored way better the next time around. Like he wasn't so scared. Like that whole test anxiety thing, taking the ASVAB is real. It's just people don't look at it in the right light. Like they just let it overwhelm them and get upset and they get mad. You know, if you have to retest, you got to retest. Just make sure when you retest, just don't bust the 20 mark with MEPS. Just 19 is good, 20 over, not good.
Yeah, 100%. We don't like that confirmation test at all.
Oh, we had one guy do that. He hit the trifecta with it. Literally, confirmation test. Literally was like, hey, you gotta come back tomorrow. Like, bro, he took it, failed, took it, passed, 20 points higher. You flag him. Now you tell him he's gotta come back the next day to take the confirmation test. This dude was like losing his mind. He was like, no.
That's
but
why
he was good.
It's like my pet peeve with MEPS with that confirmation test. Let's see. Tay Javian Sanford says, where can I expect to be as a 13 Juliet? Field artillery unit for sure. And lots of field time for sure.
Open space. I mean, depends. I guess, yeah, you looked at that one. Maybe assignments wise.
Oh, yeah.
Open spaces. A lot of open spaces. Like anything with a lot of land, because that means the range areas are big.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
So like Fort Knox is huge. Fort Benning is pretty big. You got Fort Hood, Texas. Colorado Springs. There's Fort Huachuca. Overseas is Germany. Lots of spots you could end up.
Yep. And that's if you're going active duty. Could be going guard too. Yeah, I forgot to mention it in the beginning that if you're going to ask certain questions like that, you should let us know if you're going active duty, guard, or reserve, just so that we can tailor our responses. But the stream is actually almost over. We only got a couple minutes left. But Anita Holdiness says, my high school senior daughter will ship to LA Army National Guard Basic 31 May. What's the best way to send her things from home to AIT? Location after base, she doesn't have to buy it all. Honestly, it would just be easier for you to just, like I wouldn't even send her a care package, because whatever you're going to purchase and send to her may or may not be authorized at the training site. So I would just say send her like a gift card or some cash. No, I wouldn't send cash, but like a gift card, or just direct deposit some money into her account, or Cash App, Venmo, whatever your mode of giving her money, and just do it that way. But they can afford their own personal hygiene kit.
Yeah, I would say if she did do the gift card thing, just make sure it's like a fully activated one, and if she mails it, put like the sticky note with the PIN code on it, so that when she gets it and she uses it, because somebody could try to steal it if it was just a blank one.
Right, that's smart. I didn't even think of that. That was a good tip. But yeah, I would definitely just let her pay. Was it her, right? Yeah, daughter. So I would definitely let her just pay for it, and you can just reimburse her at the end, or give her a gift card or something like that after she graduates or whatever. I wouldn't worry about it. They're not spending money on anything while they're out there, right? They're getting clothed, fed, right? They're just paying for personal hygiene products. That's it. So I wouldn't even worry about that at all. Moral waivers can take up to 6 months, give or take, depending on the severity of your case, the details, and how they evaluate your paperwork. And again, the details. It's all in the details. Can I still get in the Army before 2023? Yeah, it's possible. If you're picture perfect and you don't have any issues, you can be in there and swimmer in less than 10 days. Maybe not basic training, but you'll sign a contract within 10 days. Let's see. Kiana asked, where does 92 Alpha for a female go to basic training? Signing my contract next week and hoping to quick ship 2 to 3 weeks after. I only know my AIT is in Fort Lee, Virginia for 12 weeks. So it doesn't matter what your MOS is. If you're doing a support MOS, it could be one of the 4 locations, right? Fort Benning, Georgia, Fort Oklahoma, Fort Leonard, Missouri, and Fort Jackson, South Carolina. Your job training, as you know, is at Fort Lee. So it is not MOS specific. If you were going combat arms like infantry, field artillery, military police, then your basic training and job training is done in one station. That's called one station unit training. So when you go to send your contract, say again?
No, I was like, not for 92 Alpha. She'll get the automated logistics. She'll probably end up at Jackson. It's just the numbers. When you're looking at the 4 locations, there is reason behind it. Like Fort Benning people are more airborne people, go there because the home of the airborne's there. Fort Jackson is more support jobs. That's where I went to basic at. I was 228. So that's where I went. And then I went to Maryland for AIT, and most 92 guys that I knew went there too. So even 25's gone there. So Jackson's usually the hub for most people, unless in your case you did like 92 Alpha with Airborne, then okay, you might be at Benning. That's why. The other two are just if you're Cav or if you're tanker or if you're full-fledged infantry, that's why you would go to some of the other spots, because they have the land. That's where all the training's done. So that's why. It just makes sense when you see it in hindsight coming in.
Yeah. Yeah, I went to Fort Knox, Kentucky, which no longer exists as a trade outpost.
Yeah, I think when I came in, that's when they did away with it, like shortly after that. They were still around when I was there, which is like up to 01, and then that was it. Then they lost it, and it was all gone.
October 18th is when I shipped out to basic there in 2001. So that is going to conclude tonight's live stream. Do me a favor. If you have a question that you want a response from, feel free to direct message me on Instagram. It's literally coming across the screen right now at Team Swartz, or you can go into the description area. My email is there. You can email me. If you're not in New York, please do not call me or text me. Just email me or hit me up on my direct messages. But if you are in New York, feel free to text me. But with that being said, Mr. Kodo, thank you so much for coming on here. Thank you for responding to especially the active duty questions, because it's definitely very insightful and informative for my viewers and everything.
Yeah, anytime, man. Like, well, I'll welcomely come back for like assignment questions and weird things like that. Like, that's always a thing. I don't care. I'm probably more unique than most people.
Oh yeah. Look forward to our video podcast that we did about a week or so ago, almost 2 weeks ago. I just have to get around to editing it and posting it, but a lot of good stuff in there. And Mr. Koda, like he just said, has a very interesting experience in the Army, unlike most people. So, but thank you so much for coming on here. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be here next week, same time, same bat channel, 7 p.m. And thank you very much. Y'all have a good night now. Take care.